Well, I'm used to saying good evening, but good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to a fantastic special episode of the Denver Bronco Roundup podcast. Of course, you know who I am. My name is Keith Brugman. You know who this guy is right over there. That's Mr. Trevor Salzman and Mr. Albert Mile High Dutchy as well. Welcome, everybody. Say hello really quick.
Hey, go ahead, Albert.
I didn't tell. Trevor, go ahead.
We're not used to this afternoon podcast, but again, guys, just excited to be here, and we get an interview yet again, another two-time Super Bowl champion. It's an honor. Got to talk to him backstage a little bit. Can't wait to get into it, and can't wait to hear more of his stories and just how great of a football player he is, and just even better human being. It seems like. So just hope you guys enjoy, and let's go.
All right, the teaser. Albert, what do you got, buddy?
Yeah, it's a beautiful day here, and we are excited indeed that we can be here together as a team, and especially on this Thursday afternoon. And let's have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful show with some really nice information from two-time Super Bowl champ.
Yeah, two-time Super Bowl champ. I won't let the tease go any longer. I'll bring him on the screen. It is Mr. Glenn Cadrez. Welcome to the show, sir. We always usually clap it up when guys get on here, so thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure, my pleasure. How's it going, guys?
It's fantastic, man. I understand it's a sweltering where you're at right now, but we appreciate you getting in the air conditioning and joining us.
That's right. Well, my next stop is Costco, so I got to bear the heat for a drive over there, but I'll be okay.
Hopefully you got the remote start on the vehicle. Helps out a ton in this type of weather. But, well, thank you again. Two-time Super Bowl champion. Man, I went back. I was just looking at photos of you when it was the 25th anniversary team, going back, being with all the guys that you won that Super Bowl with, a lot of those guys that you won the Super Bowl with. And now you're here with us, man. And I don't even know where to start sometimes when you get someone like you on, but I'll start somewhat early if you don't mind. Actually, before I even jump into that, Glenn, is there anything that you want to talk about right off the bat? Is there anything that you want to say? And we always like to give a little bit of time to a special guest like this. If you have any special endeavors that you want to talk about, let's do that right off the bat, man.
You know what? If something comes to mind, I'll throw it out there. But at this time, I'm ready for your questions.
All right, buddy. Well, I'll start it off then, man. I want to talk about going all the way back. You go out, you're playing Union High School, is that correct?
Central Union.
Central Union High School. Union High School. You go out there. Obviously, you played well enough because you end up playing at Houston Cougars. And I just want to know, what got you to that point? What offers did you have, and why the Houston Cougars? What brought you there?
Well, as crazy as it sounds, so my little school in El Centro, California, it's population was about, I think, maybe 35,000 at the time. But we were a very, very talented high school. We actually had 7 Division I players on that team, and 3 of us went pro. So just to kind of an idea.
Wow.
I mean, it was just a little farm town that, we just, football and farming was pretty much all we did. Or all we could talk about, let's just say. But no, I didn't have any offers out of high school. I didn't have any offers. I went to junior college. I skipped the grade, so I was younger than my class, and okay. I hadn't really came into my own. I literally grew about 5 inches and about 30 pounds from the time I finished my football season, my senior year, to the next season of junior college.
Wow.
So I was,
You're a different man.
Yeah, I was a different guy, different player, and I was, hit the junior college circuit and did very well. And then Houston had just had the Heisman Trophy winner that year in '89, and they recruited me. They were, I think, number 9 in the nation, and I had other scholarships, but I was like, man, this sounds fun over here, Houston. So let's go. And the barbecue was awesome, and so I just ended up signing with Houston and stayed there for 2 years.
The barbecue is awesome. Yeah, I checked out your Instagram account. I understand the barbecue is a big part, man. I like that. A big part of your life.
Yeah, I'm a foodie.
Well, I'll just take it one step further, man. That team, and I remember that team, they were a fantastic team. 1990, they go 10-1. but they're not bowl eligible. What is it like to be on a team that is that outstanding? I mean, completely should have been right up there running for the top of the top team in the country, and you're not eligible. What was the dynamic of that team?
Well, we weren't eligible for a bowl, but we were eligible for a national championship. And yeah, so back in the day, it was like Sports Illustrated would vote, and then I think they had an AP. They had like two votings. So we were 1 and 2 on both standards.
Yeah.
And it boiled down really to Texas, and we were 2 in the nation, and Texas was, I think, 6th in the nation. And it was a Thursday night down there. And the week before, I had gotten hurt. I tore my medial collateral. I was at the game, and the tackle that Texas had was a guy named Stan Thomas. He went first round with the Chicago Bears. Well, Stan Thomas was a very good friend of mine, still is. We went to high school together. He was one of the guys that went pro out of my high school team. So everyone in El Centro, all the bars were like, Cadrez and Thomas going at it Thursday night and all this. And I ended up getting hurt. We put in a guy that was a lot smaller than an end, kind of wants to be. And Stan just, he kind of put it on him that night, and
that is way,
we had such a chance to win, but we lost that game. And if we would have won that game, we would have went undefeated, and then they would have handed us the national championship. So without the bowl game. So yeah, that was it. It hurt bad because we were on such a rush and such a rise, and then to get hurt and miss. I missed the last like 5 games of the season, and I was just really bummed out. But fortunately, I came back to my senior year and was able to, get myself in the league. But
yeah. I mean, that even takes on an even larger dynamic when you're injured for the game that mattered a lot. Things play through your head of what ifs, right? So for quite a while, but luckily, like you said, you come back senior year, you're able to put some of those to bed, and get to hopefully your ultimate goal, playing in the NFL. We want to fast forward to maybe your Broncos career, but I watched another interview with you that you had, and you talked about, your draft, which was kind of a crazy scenario, how you got drafted, the teams that were involved, and then, your way to the Denver Broncos. That was also kind of a wild scenario, I felt, as well. So I don't know if you want me to synopsisize that. I'd love it if you would actually kind of put all of that into a little bit of a story, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure. So I was drafted in the 6th round, but I didn't go to the combine. And fortunately for us, we had a top pick, David Klinger, the quarterback, and he was on our team. And he would get looked at by all the school or all the teams. And our strength coach, which was John Lott, you probably recognize him from like all the ESPN stuff at the combine. He's like the raspy voice. Come on, meathead, let's go lift that. He's that guy. Well, he was a really good friend of mine, still is, and he would just kind of whisper in their ear, hey, this guy, he played defensive end because we needed him there, but he's 6'2", 240, and he'll run a 4.5, and he's a linebacker. So I had about 12 teams work me out, and just scored really high. I mean, my 20-yard shuttle was a 3.9 on grass, which was top of most running backs and everything. I had a 4.59, 28 times on the bench. So I was starting to do things that I was kind of like watching myself, with other linebackers, and I was like, well, I think I think I might have a chance to get drafted here. And I went to Buffalo twice, and Marv Levy had me in his office, and he shows me his draft. He says, we're taking you in the 6th round. And I said, great, awesome. You guys just went to 2 Super Bowls, and then they also went to another 2. But I was sitting there in a little 1-bedroom apartment, and I wake up the second day, and I get a phone call, and it's Miami Dolphins, and they said, we're going to draft you in the 6th round. And I'm like, okay, great. Dan Marino, Sunshine. This might be even better than the Buffalo deal. This is awesome. Great. And so I about 10 minutes later, the phone rings, and I'm like, well, this is Miami, because I'm watching the scrolling thing on ESPN, and there's Miami, and they were about 2 picks left. And I answer the phone. It's Pete Carroll, and he's like, "Hey, we just drafted you with the New York Jets." And I was like, "Wait, what? Hold on, wait." I went from Buffalo, Miami. Like, wait a minute. So I didn't even know anyone on the Jets. I think I knew. I went to an NFL game my senior year only because my roommate Ted Pardee, his dad was the head coach of the Oilers, Jack Pardee. So we went to a game, and lo and behold, it was Jets. So I kind of saw some players out there, and I was like, okay, I remember Freeman McNeil as a kid, and Al Toon. Okay, there's him. But I didn't know anyone. End up in New York. Hated every minute of it. It was a bad organization. I mean, the things that we had to do, like just rooming together, and just there was no lunch table. It was just terrible. I didn't like anything about the Jets, and I'll be the first to say it. I don't care. Great, whatever. But man, when I played there for 3 years. I played behind Mo Lewis, probably an underrated linebacker, if you could believe that. But Mo was a really, really solid player. And I played every single snap of special teams. Played for 3 years, and then I finally was like, I went to Dick Haley, who was, if you guys remember, Todd Haley coached the Chiefs. Well, Todd was a good friend of mine, and Dick actually drafted me. And I said, man, please, let me out of here. Please let me out of here. Pete and Greg and all them, they had already gone. It was Rich Kotite. And he said, listen, let's wait 3 weeks. Let me see if these rookies can pan out, and I'll release you. And I said, thank you. Great. Perfect. So after the 3rd week, he did. I had an offer to go to Cincinnati. And I just felt like I would be at the time. Now, remember, we're talking, 95, these organizations are changed and they're different. But I just said, I'm not going from the frying pan to the boiling pot with the Jets in Cincinnati. I said, no, thank you. And I slid the contract away, and I went back home, and I said, I'm just not going to get paid this week. I'll just wait around. And I waited the next week. I had an offer, had a workout in Washington, and then I had a deal in Houston. And as I was getting on the plane from Washington to Houston, my agent called and said, Denver wants you. And I was like, oh my God. I was, a California guy, AFC West. I said, we'll be in San Diego, we'll be in Oakland. Yes. I want John Elway. Let's go. So signed with Denver. I walked in the locker room. The first person to come up to me was Steve Atwater, and he said, hey, you ready to win a championship? And I was like, dude, I've never even been around. Like, the teammates I had with the Jets was like all me guys, and it was just amazing. It was amazing. We had our own rooms. I felt like I finally made it in the NFL. And I get there on a Tuesday. I practice Wednesday, Thursday, Friday walkthrough. Saturday we go to Seattle. And I think in the late first quarter, our linebacker got hurt. I went in, and that was really my only exposure of on the field as a linebacker, and played well. Had some nice little blow-ups, and I ended up starting the rest of the season, and that was it. And I was a Denver Bronco, and that was Mike's first year, and that was kind of like the nucleus of the team was, with a lot of these the younger guys like Keith Burns, and that were awesome in special teams, and really just kind of like was Rod Smith was really like the character of our team was kind of being built at that time, and then that was it. And I was a Denver Bronco, and still am. I'm sorry about the last 2 years, but I ended up with Kansas City only because Greg Robinson was there, and I knew the defense. And I had a chance to go to the Raiders or Kansas City, and I wasn't about to go to the Raiders.
Hats off.
Okay, I'll go there. And I wanted to play with Dick Vermeil too. He seemed like a real great, good guy, and I'm so glad I did. He was awesome.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, like I said, I couldn't have synopsisized that. Thank you for telling the story, man. It just seemed like a wild run from your draft all the way to the Broncos and everything that you went through. But one of the things you mentioned, you said getting there, going to the AFC West, playing with all those teams, but also playing like a quarterback with a quarterback like Elway. Albert has a question. I think that's right up that alley. Albert, why don't you go ahead, buddy?
So yeah, Elway was known for his strong arm and Elway cross. But what was it like being a defender of those passes?
I mean, obviously, he had the zip. He would zip it in at all times. I mean, if you could ever knock a ball down, get a pick, I mean, it was just something you literally wrote home about. I would literally call a friend, hey, you know what? I picked John today. Like he had that kind of status. But yeah, he can wing it, man. Of course, everyone's seen what he can do. I think he's the greatest quarterback of all time. I mean, I'm biased, I know, but I think if you took the top 10 quarterbacks, Mahomes and whoever you want to, Rodgers and Brady and Elway and Marino, and put the top 10, I think if you took off the name on their jersey and you just had the top offensive minds in the league, Walsh, Landry, Shanahan, all these guys, I think they would all pick John Elway as their starter. I think he would be their starter. He can do it all. He was extremely smart, great guy in the locker room. I mean, he just came to play. He was tough as nails. He had all the throws, can move with his feet. I mean, he was just. I think he's the greatest quarterback ever.
Awesome. Trevor, I know that you have some questions up your alley. I'll let you go ahead and choose one and throw it at Glenn. How about that?
Yeah, I'll just take it back to the Super Bowls. So you kind of talked about the team and how Steve Atwater kind of greeted you and said you're ready to win a Super Bowl. What were maybe some of the biggest challenges or adversities that you guys had to face to win back-to-back Super Bowls and just kind of get there? And just in general, I know we talked before with Mr. Howard Griffith, and he kind of talked about some of the adversities you guys had to face. But I wanted to hear from your perspective maybe what you thought about some of the differences and struggles that you guys had to face just getting to the Super Bowl one, but then having to repeat the year after.
Well, obviously, you guys know that 96 was a heartbreak year, and we really felt like we were, a Super Bowl team. I mean, the Patriots represented the AFC that year, and we beat them by 40 at their place. And that was when Sharp was calling the National Guard, and they represented the AFC. So we really felt like we should have went. And so that was heartbreaking. We came back the next year with just a mindset that nothing is good enough except for winning that Super Bowl. We were gung set on that thing. And what happened during the season, I think, is like we just started having a lot of fun. I mean, we really liked each other. We really had a lot of respect for each other. We really could count on each other. Like you just knew that Terrell was going to get 130 yards. You just knew that these players were going to do what they do, and defensively we had a little more pressure on us because we weren't the top 10 defenses in the league at the time. But the attitude just around the locker room, Mike did little things like hat day. I'm sure you guys have heard of hat day, and if we win, Friday's a hat day, and we get Monday off. I mean, these things, like, everything was just so much fun. We didn't want to leave the building. We wanted to just kind of hang out and be around each other. And so we finally got that monkey off our back. And then it was like, look, we're the best team in the league. Like no one can stop our offense. Our defense was, if you look at that second year, the 98 season, 99 Super Bowl, I mean, we had 13 turnovers in the playoffs. I mean, we were doing some things that a lot of top defenses do. I mean, we were like our third down conversion rates or stuff like that, our turnover rates. We were absolutely. I mean, we went. Jets scored. They scored 3 points, and then they had we had a fumble inside the 5, and they scored a touchdown there. So we gave up 3 points. Miami, we gave up 3 points. So it was. And then Atlanta, they got a kick return and then a cheap one at the end. I mean, maybe we gave up 10 points with Atlanta. So we really had a lot of confidence in what we were doing, and we were just, we wanted to just keep the thing going. It was heartbreaking after winning the second one, and then Elway retires, and I think Steve went to the Jets, and it was kind of like we weren't the same team, and we took our struggles the year after that, bounced back the next year and went back to the playoffs. But I think probably out of everybody, I probably had the most pressure because, it was the same defense. I was the only new guy as a starter, so I was playing third down specialist, nickel stuff the year before our first Super Bowl. And then Mike calls me up and he says, "Hey, you're going to be the starting Mike. And oh, by the way, you're also going to long snap." And I was like, "Wait, I haven't long snapped since junior college." He goes, "Yeah, I don't care. You're long snapping." So I was practicing every day. I had to get now that was nerve wracking.
Yeah.
Snapping in the Super Bowl playoffs and I hadn't even snapped. So, but we got it done. And I was the only new guy on defense. And then I think Swain was the only new guy on offensive tackle. So, the pressure was kind of on us to keep this Ferrari going. And, fortunately we did, and we had the success of winning 2 of them.
Yeah. Amazing. 3 years we had opportunities. I know that was so difficult that year before, right? But we could have been the team talking about the three-peat rather than another team talking about it this year.
And Keith,
go ahead, buddy.
No, I just want to reiterate. The reason I asked that is because so often there's just certain recipes to win a Super Bowl, but you guys really had that bond. You had the talent. You had everything going for you. It truly takes a ton of different things going the right way for you guys to win a Super Bowl, and that's why I love hearing that story about you guys coming together. You guys having the confidence. You knew you had the talent to win the Super Bowl, and let's just go out there and do it at all costs. I think that's awesome. I think that's amazing, and I love hearing that story. And I think going forward in the future, for the Broncos, hopefully they can get back to that because that's the winning way, and just awesome story.
And the thing is, when everyone buys into it, you're such a strong force. I mean, if you look at that year, Elway was out for 4 weeks, and we went into Kansas City. I mean, we beat some really good teams with Bubby Brister, and he was our guy. We were like, hey, we're going to rally behind Bubby, and it takes a lot more than just knocking our quarterback out for to beat us. And so the confidence was just immense. I mean, we just really felt like it's just a matter of time before we win. I really wanted to go undefeated. I mentioned something in the paper. They gave me a lot of shit for it, but I thought, guys, come on, who's better than us, man? Let's. I just thought we had a chance, and unfortunately, one dreary day in New York, the Giants threw a Hail Mary and got us, and they went on undefeated season. But there's a lot of luck involved with injuries and whatnot, and then it's just a lot of luck if once you get that chemistry with the team, it's it and you feel it, and that's why the '96 season hurt so bad, because we really started to feel that and like each other and really want to win for each other, and it was devastating. But fortunately we came back. So.
There you go. Yeah. Fortunately, you came back and got us 2 championships that we all dream about still today. So, Albert, I think there's a great time. I think there's one other component to a great winning season. Sometimes that's the fans. Albert, what do you got for them?
Yeah, so the fans can play a big role in a game. Could you talk a little bit about the Mile High supporters and the fans?
I mean, definitely top tier fans. I mean, I played in every stadium, and there's a feeling I always say Mile High, but there was a feeling in Mile High like everyone's going to this rock concert, the energy was like you pull up in your car and you're walking out and you're going to the tunnel, and like you could just see the fans, and they're all just kind of like, yeah, like just getting hyped, like they're going to a rock concert. They're going to see Led Zeppelin, and like, let's go, let's do it. And I think a lot of the fans, it takes a lot to get there. There's a lot that come from Wyoming and all these other places, and so it's a drive, and it's kind of like a destination, a road trip, and they're ready to go. It's like Woodstock. Let's so I just felt that there was a real tight knit relationship with the fans. They kind of knew everything about you. They knew what we kind of needed to work on or what we were good at. And they were just always there. I mean, I think of like Bronco Betty. I don't know if you guys remember her, but she would be at like the airports every single day, every single time we'd fly out, every single time we'd come back in. And it was like, I don't know, they were just like these real fans, you know. And I just love the Bronco fans. I wish I could have been a Bronco all my 11 years, you know. I'm a Bronco now, you know. And it's due to the fans. I just love them.
Yeah, awesome. You know, I always think back, you know, all those different times and all those Hall of Famers that you played for, and you mentioned one of the names. I'm going to mix in, well, a few more. Well, actually, I mentioned two of the names. First, I want you to just compare and contrast, because most people kind of have an idea of who Bill Romanowski is, at least from the outside. But you also mentioned the guy that you played with in Mo Lewis, who I had a lot of respect for even back then as well. If you can, it seems like they could be completely opposites in my opinion, but compare, contrast, and talk about Mo Lewis and especially Bill Romanowski.
I mean, I hold both in, you know, super high regard. Good friends. I still talk to him to this day. Mo is just he was a specimen. Like he was. I've never seen a guy that was more of a brick wall. Like when people hit him, they just didn't go anywhere. I mean, he was just solid. Like if you watch that hit he did on Bledsoe when he gave Brady his career, it was like Mo just comes up the sideline and just gives him one of those, and like he's just you know, he was super solid. A great player, good team guy, you know. Can't say enough about him. And I feel the same way about Bill. He was just super intense. It was comical at times. Like you'd be under the pile and he would be doing shit, and he would like one time he was like twisting this guy's leg, and I'm like, and the guy goes, "Bill, you're not doing anything." Like my leg's fine. And I'm just like laughing because he just went into another world, and it was fun being in that world with him, you know. And we had a lot of fun off the field, in the meeting rooms, you know, we playing jokes on people and doing stuff. It was but great guy, came to play. Always like he was one of those guys where, you know, hey, if you do this, you can improve this, you know, let me help you do like he had a thing where he shaved his whole body. And I'm like, what'd you do that for? Are you a swimmer? And he goes, well, each hair, when it's wet, so when you're sweating, a hair weighs 7 times more wet than it does dry. So he got rid of all his hair. It's like, all right, dude, you know, but you know, warrior and just, you know, family guy, and you know, can't say enough about him. Both had different styles, you know, and both can do a lot of great things on the football field.
Awesome. I'm going to double up. I'm going to ask another question. I went back. I watched a lot of tape, watched Jets tape, watched Broncos tape, you name it. Watched that the interception that you got that really put you on the map and got your opportunity. But one thing that stood out for me, man, your ability to diagnose plays, especially the middle linebacker, I don't think gets enough justice in everything that they're called on to do. You talked about getting that opportunity, especially starting that second year, that Super Bowl run, you know, and all the pressure that has. Your ability to diagnose plays, and then your ability to wrap up and get a guy down. I don't think Broncos fans, everybody out there watching, go back and watch some Glenn Cadrez tape. It's like, it's how you're supposed to do things as a middle linebacker, in my opinion. I just want to get your thoughts, where did you learn the tackling technique that you got? You know, how early did that come into round? And then as far as diagnosing a play, is that just something that came natural because it looked like supernatural to you? It didn't look like something that needed to be coached. It looked like something that was just in your blood. Well,
thanks for the compliments. I think we should do this show every week so I could feel good about myself. Man, I forgot. But you know, I wasn't a very big blow up guy. Like, you know, you talk about Mo and Roma. Like, I'll tell you a guy that was just a firecracker was Al Wilson. Like he could come into a hole and just explode. Like he had this leverage, this last second coil to him. And you know, a lot of people are just they're different. And I wasn't a big blow up guy, so I knew that I just had to have the technique, and I was really quick laterally. So it was easy for me to, once I kind of diagnosed it, to really get to my point as quick as possible. And I think I was probably there a little quicker than most linebackers, and I think that was my attribute. But it was just, hey, hit them and hang on. You know, when I was a kid, we you know, like I said, I'm from a little farm town, and we literally would go into the feed yard, and they'd have us chasing little calves, little pigs, you know, and just shuffling your feet and coming up and just little stuff like that. It was fun, but it was really teaching us, you know. And so I just kind of prided on that. And as far as like the diagnosis, I mean, really, I really got to give my teammates a lot of credit, because I was in front of like one of the smartest players I've ever played with was Tyrone Braxton. This guy was like, he was a genius out there. Like he there, I can't even tell you how many times he would be, you know, watch the Yogi Glenn, watch this, watch that. And it just made my life easier. Me and Romo had, and Mobley had a nice communication with, you know, switching routes off. And, you know, it was just the communication of the team, you know, and I've been in Greg's system for all those years. And so I just kind of, you know, worked at it. You watch film, and, you know, I'm teaching my son, he's a middle linebacker, and I'm teaching him the same thing. I'm like, you don't have to be the biggest, fastest, strongest. If you can get to your spot quicker than them, you know. And so I guess, you know, thank you. Thanks for the compliment. I appreciate it. I'm going to record this and send it to my kids. But yeah, I was a guy that, like, hey, hit the hole quick and hold on like hell, you know?
Yeah. No, but I got to give it up to you, man. Like I said, great technique when it came to tackling, and quick diagnoser. I like you said, maybe it was just that quickness to the hole. You talked about those shuttle times and everything else that you were able to put up, you know, getting there quicker than anybody else. You got there, and you made a big difference. Trevor, I'll just throw it over to you, man. Grab a question of yours, give it to Glenn.
Well, I have two that relate to when you talk about tackling, and then also, you know, the middle linebacker position. So in your opinion, over the years, how has the inside linebacker position, now, you know, inside linebacker position, middle linebacker, how has it evolved over the years? I know the rules in the NFL have changed, and I know it's been, you know, throughout the years, different you know, techniques maybe change, but how have you seen, and you watched the games probably, how have you seen it really evolve, or just some of the changes that have been made to the middle linebacker position that you've seen from when you played until now?
The athleticism, definitely. I mean, you've got to be able to get out in the perimeter a little more, even at Mike, stretching cover twos, taking backs out of the backfield, and plus the linemen are so much quicker as well. You know, there were guys when I played that were just big, thick gap control guys, you know, that would just come up two gap a guard, hit you know, just take on a fullback head up. I mean, they were just big brutes, and I don't really see that much anymore, because those guys now, they fake it to them and they run out to the flats, and you got to cut, you know, shit like that. So I would love to play in this time. I think it would have suited my game nicely. Like, you know, it was like just covering backs, and you know, it's kind of like 7-on-7. It's like flag, you know. I mean, and listen, not that they're not hitting out there, because they are hitting out there. These guys are. I was down on the sideline one time, and I saw a hit one time, and I looked over and I said, "Are you kidding me? I did that shit? Like, what the hell? Like, it was a car collision." It was like, and I was out of the game for about 10 years, and I was just like, holy cow. So they're tremendous athletes. I mean, just so good and so talented and so physical when they have to be. But the game does, you know, you're not allowed to maul a running back for the 5 yard. You know, we were able to literally get our hands and throw them down, and just, you know, and then over the middle, I mean, you would punish them. Like, they wouldn't even try to throw it over the middle. You know, you knew better than to do that. So that was an advantage that we had, you know. So now it's like, I'm going over the middle, and there's nothing you're going to do about it. You're going to tackle me, but you're not going to knock me out of the game. And And that was a difference in just the game. In the 90s, there was literally, if you watched every single game and you watched offense, defense, special teams, there was at least one guy getting knocked out every game. Like Woozy, seeing stuff, every single game. If it's kickoff, whatever it was, there was always at least one. And now they do a good job where, it's rare, it's rare. So
yeah. It's been a long time since I've seen that smelling salt on the sideline. You're absolutely right.
That's right. Yeah, because you know why? If they do that, then there's going to be a coach that's going to say, "Hey, go in that tent. Let's go check you out. Why are you smelling that?" So everyone's kind of,
Yep. Got to be careful these days.
Right.
We had one question that came in. We're going to throw this one up. We've had a ton of people coming in, commenting, watching off to the side here, but I want to get this one. D-Rock came in and he wants to know, hey, 59, who was your favorite quarterback to hunt?
Oh, Gannon. Yeah, Gannon for sure. The Raiders. Yeah. That, and he liked to run a little bit, so that was good. I had my best game ever against them on Monday night. I had 3 sacks, and it was just, he would scramble and I would just kind of come up, and it was, yeah, I liked playing him. Definitely.
Awesome. I got to get to this one too, because there's a lot of comments in here as well. I'm not even going to pick one out in particular. Mike Shanahan, what do we need to do? Can we rally? Can we get support to get him in the Hall of Fame? He needs to be there, man. And I know that you have got to be on board with that. Talk about the Hall of Fame coach in all of our minds, Mike Shanahan.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. He deserves to be on there. I mean, when you look at his lineage of what's come under him, and look at all the coaches, the head coaches in the league now, obviously his son, but I mean, he took an 8-8 team in '95, and he was 100% responsible to building that team and building not only the team on the field, but building the locker room. And that's where it all starts. If you build the locker room and you have quality guys that care about each other and play for each other, when you get on the field, it's all going to come together. And that was all Mike Shanahan. I mean, one of the greatest offensive minds to be involved in the NFL.
Absolutely. Like a lot of people were saying, he belongs in the Hall of Fame yesterday, and I think a lot of us feel that same sentiment. Albert, I've ignored you long enough. Any question you want to ask Glenn? I don't care. On script, off script, go right ahead. What do you got for Glenn?
I'm going to have a twofold question, and they both relate to each other. Now that you've retired, was there a player you can admit to that you didn't like to play, you didn't look forward to play against? And who got the meanest and toughest, very best, Glenn?
Again, I'd say the Raiders would get that, because I think the big thing is, growing up in California, some of my best friends were Raiders. I used to do a golf tournament, and the guy that would put it on, he was a cop, and he was a huge Raider fan. So he would get like the spiked guy, the Raider fan, and they would literally drive down in a 78 Camaro all the way from Oakland. They would come down to my golf tournament, fully makeup, everything. And so we would, and they were good guys, and we were friends. And so I'd go to the black hole, and I'd run up there before the game, and I'd be like, "Hey, John, Bill, what's up?" And they'd be like, "Stop, get out of here, go," And just, so the Raiders were always kind of like that fun, nasty, like it's Al Davis. I mean, what a great figure in the NFL, and all the great things he's done. And then he lets go of Mike, and Mike always had a chip on his shoulder with the Raiders. So Raider Week was always special. As far as a player, there was never really a player. There was schemes more so, that were like, oh man, this is like Emmitt Smith. Emmitt Smith, the scheme, you're sitting there looking at mountains of linemen. They're huge. You can't even see. And then all of a sudden there's little Emmitt squirting through, So that was probably one of my toughest games, just because I would dissect it, and I would get there, and there would be this huge guy that I got to take on, and I couldn't see Emmitt, and he would kind of squirt out. So schemes were tough, but never really a player that I I almost went up against Bo Jackson, but he had gotten hurt, and that was one guy that you watch film and you're like, oh, you know, he possessed a lot of talent and he can do a lot of things. But Eric Dickerson too, he was like just can slash. And but Terrell, I think Terrell was there. I mean, he possessed things that were extremely difficult to you know, he'd get a run and start on a toss, and you know, he'd be full speed by the time he hits the line. And you know, now you got to take on a slashing 220-pound back that, you know, that scheme made him extremely tough.
Yeah, it sure did. It sure did.
1,000 yards.
Yeah, 1,000-yard rushers, and you know, like you said, a full complement all the way across the team. You know, you talked about the guys in front of you. You talk about Tyrone Braxton behind you, Steve Atwater. I mean, you name it. There was talent all over the team, and I think, you know, heck, some of those offensive linemen we all would have loved to run in behind even if we're playing in Little League. You know, playing a little running back, because we don't all get to play in the pros. Fast forward a little bit. Let's get into today. One of the questions that I saw just kind of pop up, and I'll ask again, or I'll bring to the forefront. But here it is, Mr. Michael Ronquillo, great supporter of the show. He says, Glenn, he would love to get your thoughts on Bo Nix, our new Broncos quarterback. What do you think about now kind of getting into this year's team? How we're doing, buddy?
Well, I'll be very honest with you. I don't watch a lot of off-season stuff that goes on. I don't follow a lot of the trades and who they draft. I just watch the games on Sunday, and then I start critiquing from there. We are on a 30-guy text with all the Bronco players, and they'll chime in and say, "Hey, this kid's good," or "This kid," you know. But I mean, his resume is nice. I mean, and Sean Payton, you know, the fact that he liked him and drafted him, that's good enough for me. Side note, Sean Payton used to come to my practice in high school. My coach in high school was his coach in college, and also coached with Shanahan at Northern Illinois. So Sean Payton used to come to our practice all the time as a kid. I think it was a GA with San Diego State or something. But anyway, yeah, it's a small world in this NFL thing, I tell you.
Ain't it?
I wish I could answer more. I don't know. The only thing I'll say to fans, and you know, you're a fan, you watch the game, you see this kid, you have a quick judgment on him. Just realize that there's a whole bunch of hours of practice film that makes those coaches feel this is the best opportunity for us to win. You know, they're not just throwing a guy into. I mean, if he's starting, he's doing some good things at practice, at training camp. They're throwing a lot at him. They're throwing a lot of blitzes at him. They're throwing a lot of plays at him, and he's coming through in flying colors. So that's good enough for me. If he's ready to start, well then great. I think I heard like some of the numbers. Didn't we go undefeated or something in the preseason?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, he's, you know, my son, they're big fans, and he said, "Oh man, Bo threw for a couple touchdowns and did this and that." And you know, preseason's preseason. You know, it's Sunday that all that counts. I don't, you know, but I think he's going to do great. I think he's going to do great because, you know, he's in a great situation. He's with some great coaches, and again, you know, if he's putting it in practice and giving them the confidence that, hey, he's the guy, then it's good enough for me. I think we should be excited. I think we got a quarterback.
I'll go a different way, and I'm going to go off script then. We had a guy in Josie Jewell. You sat there and you watched him through many years playing the middle linebacker, inside linebacker position. He's gone now. Alex Singleton is the guy who's kind of taking his place. What do you think about Alex Singleton stepping up in that role, in a role that you kind of held as well, that inside middle linebacker position?
Oh man, Keith, I'm sorry, guys. All the fans, I'm sorry. I really don't.
Oh, okay, no worries.
I don't do fantasy football. I wake up and I watch the games and I enjoy the hell out of them, but I don't really specifically watch, you know. I mean, I'll watch a game and I'll see some faults, and then with our little, you know, our little team text, I might say something like, "Man, this guy should do this," or "This guy,
yeah.
You know, but I don't know enough. I haven't like seen enough or focused enough on one particular player.
No.
I'm gonna be. This is sad, and I swear to you, I am Bronco till I die. But I could probably name 3 or 4 guys on the team. Like I don't really. I obviously some Certain, and I just, and we go to a game every year. I mean, I take the boys every year and we watch, but I just don't keep up with. I couldn't name 3 guys on any teams in the league. I'm a fan of just the games, and I don't really keep up. So sorry about that.
No. I like to go in there, watch a good game, root for your Broncos, and I get it, man. I get it. I absolutely, and I appreciate that, man. If we go on here, we try to be the knowledgeable and the experts in the whole 9 yards, but even we know if we when we should say something, when we shouldn't. And I'm glad that you're still out there supporting the Broncos, loving the Broncos, and more importantly, those 30 guys that are in that text chain. You know what I mean? Those are the guys that really matter as far as Broncos in your world, right? Those are the guys that you went to battle with and won those championships with. So that's super cool.
If the question is, would our Bronco team beat this year's Bronco team? Yes. And any other Bronco team? Yes. We beat them all.
Any team. I can't honestly. Those teams, like you said, it's very awesome to hear it from your side of things, because growing up with those teams, it felt magical. It felt like the connection that I had through the television screen to all the fans, to you guys on the field, to everything that was happening was something different. And if you have that similar feeling on your side, and being on the field and just being like, what, we're a part of something special. This is a different group, and by dang, I'll say that we can go undefeated, even if I take some heat. So we got a few more minutes. I'm going to open it back up. I know it's Albert. It's been a little bit of time for you. Any more questions for Glenn? Not current Bronco questions. We'll go old school questions. How's that, buddy? Make you feel good about yourself and talk about how great you are.
Hey, I wanted to answer one question. You guys had sent me a couple of questions, and I thought they were really good. And one of them was that I started playing Pop Warner at 8 years old, tackle football, and my sons I didn't let play till they were 13. I know that there's a lot of parents out there that are probably, having that decision, like what should we do? I felt with my kids, I felt that it was more beneficial to gain the football skills that they needed by playing flag. Their lateral movement, their eye-hand coordination, catching the ball, just backpedaling, doing all those things. I felt they needed to really get a base, a controlled football base under them before they start banging heads. So, and a lot of times when you're tackling, you're in full contact, you can be a bigger kid and you can kind of cheat your technique. You can jump into a hole and just use your weight. Whereas, you gotta have that technique of how you take on that guard or whatnot. And so I felt like that flag was going to get my kids a little more caught up to football movement. That makes sense. And then I wanted them to play a tackle year before they went into high school. So that was to answer that question. And if there's any parents out there as to what my thought process was, that was it. There could be some kids that are really mature and really great athletes and hey, I want to play tackle. I don't condone the fact of playing at an early age. Are they becoming a better football player because they're playing tackle at 8, or would they be better at flag, becoming a better football player playing flag? And I think the answer is going to be flag most of the time until you get a little older and then your body, this stuff, and you could properly tackle, take on blocks and whatnot.
I'm glad you picked that question out, Glenn. I just got to say, I started Pop Warner when I was 8 years old, and going out there being suited up with pads, helmet, the whole 9 yards from the very beginning. It's intimidating when you still don't know really the basics of what you need to be doing on the football field. So like you said, to get all those movements down, to get all those skill movements, where you need to be, how you need to be, prior to putting on the pads, I think that I could see how that's a huge benefit to a younger kid, because I think I would have benefited from it myself. And I was one of those kids that grew fast and was the bigger kid that was cheating his technique, by the way, too. So, Albert, I was going to go to you. Did you have any other questions for Glenn?
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I do. So you've been playing professional football for 11, 12 years. Have you ever considered coaching?
The biggest regret in my life was not coaching, and I wish I would have. When I got out of Kansas City, Vermeil asked me to coach special teams. Greg Robinson, who was our defense coordinator with the Broncos and then with the Chiefs, he went off to Syracuse, asked me to coach there. Michigan, linebacker coach there. And at the time, I just felt like I had 11 years. I was really just kind of tired. I had 3 little girls that I just wanted to watch grow up, and I was just kind of done. And I just didn't want to. I was thinking about coaching my high school, and I ended up doing a radio show and covering all the kids in the whole valley, and it was great. I'd go to all the games and commentate on them, and had a little show in the morning. But then I had my boys, and then I started coaching their flag, and they're coaching their tackle, and I'm just like, man, I wish I was a coach. I wish I would have stayed in it, because I really do love the game, and I love the guys that make that game and getting them excited about that game and getting them knowledgeable about their opponent and just the whole strategic side of it. And I've done so many things in the league. I mean, I played fullback with the Jets and short yardage. I played all 3 linebacker positions. I played spinner, which I was, in a 5 technique on hand on the ground. If you look at the AFC Championship against the Steelers, I was back with Atwater at safety, and I would come into the box. So I've done a lot of different things, long snap, all the special teams, and I just feel like I could, really give a lot of help in that capacity. But I'm sitting in Temecula having some wine, watching the boys play, and I do wish I would have continued with football and done some coaching. But that's my coaching story. So Kyle, if you need a special team coach or something, hit me up. I'll consider it, only because you're a Bronco family.
There you go. There, I like that. Head up to Trevor, our Rocket Man. Any last questions for Glenn before we get out of here, sir?
Yeah, I don't believe we hit this question yet. And again, Glenn, thank you for your time. We really appreciate it, and we're honored to have you on. And hopefully we can have you on in the future as well. So throughout your playing career, and this is a question I have to ask you: who was the toughest player to tackle? That could be a teammate, that could be an opposing player, that could be in practice, a game. Just in your opinion, who was the toughest guy to bring down to tackle? You talked about tackling earlier and how, we praised you about it earlier, but you obviously, and again, I watched film on you as well. You were a great tackler as well, in my opinion. So, I'm going to come out there and flat out ask you who is the toughest player to tackle in your whole career, throughout your whole career.
Again, it's more the scheme than anything. I mean, Terrell, you got to realize they're running that zone play. Terrell's getting the pitch, and he's full speed. He's a good 4 steps by the time he hits the line. So he can slash, he can move. So he was extremely tough. I mean, obviously, like a who am I thinking of? Detroit Lions.
Barry Sanders. Like if you got him on the perimeter, you're done. You're not gonna tackle that guy. There's no way. So you gotta get to him and take away that even a chance of him catching the ball. You know what I mean? Or the linemen have got to disrupt them, and then you've got to kind of pile on. So it's the situation. It's always like a different situation. So if you're 3rd and 1 on the goal line, and Terrell Davis gets a wide zone pitch, and you're a linebacker and you're shuffling into your gap, it's a tough call right there. And if you're getting a screen in the flats, and it's someone like Barry Sanders or Marcus Allen or all, that gets really difficult, So it's really the schemes and like what they're putting you in that makes it tough.
as far as the guys, I mean, they all run hard. They all come downhill and they're professional. So it's that scheme that kind of creates that difficulty. If that answers your question.
Yeah.
I got
think of one particular person. Just I mean, a lot of times when you're a pro, you grow up a fan as well, right? I mean, I idolized Ronnie Lott. I had pictures of Ronnie Lott when I was 12 years old, smiling with Ronnie Lott, and then he became my teammate. So it's, there's that little stigma, there's that little reputation, like the first time I think my first game was against Philly, and I see Herschel Walker, and and I was like, wow, man, that's Herschel Walker. Like I don't want to get in front of him, like, but you play your game and you do what you're doing and your technique and this and that. But certain situations just make it extremely, extremely tough.
I'm going to combine a question from what we call our posse, our chat over here, since we're the Denver Bronco Roundup, with one of mine. Michael Ronquillo was wanting to know what your favorite moment being a Denver Bronco. I'm going to take a little bit different stab at it, though. You talked about all the pranks that went on a lot of times in that camaraderie that was going on. Who was the biggest prankster, and could you give me a prank that maybe no one knows about that was pulled when you were a player at the Denver Broncos? Pulling this one out. I don't know. I'm putting you on the spot.
There's kids listening probably. So
okay. Well, yeah. Don't do those ones. Yep. That might be tough now. Now we've ruled out 3/4 of them.
Yeah.
Or if nothing else, who was the biggest prankster? How's that? Let us know who the biggest prankster.
I mean, Sharp was a prankster. He was funny. He was a great teammate and super fun to be around. You'd get on the bus and he had the microphone and he would just talk to everyone as they came on. Oh, look at you in their shoes, and he'd talk crap about everyone. And he was a real fun guy. Keith Burns was the same way. He was super funny. We always had that little banter back and forth with offense and defense. I'm trying to think of a story. I know me and John. So I was able. I'm not accurate, but I was able to throw the ball pretty far. Like I could throw the ball, and so we would do this little thing where see who can throw the ball the furthest on one knee. And so John knew that we'd get all the new quarterbacks coming in, and John knew it's like, hey, I'm going to play it up. So he would play it up to these guys, and that one guy, who was that guy from Oregon, Miller? Remember we had Miller like that one year, and so John was like, man, there's no way. I'll bet you $500. I'll bet you $1,000. Let's blah blah blah. And the thing was I could be on one knee and throw the ball 70 yards, and we're in Dallas Stadium, and he gets Miller. And Miller's like, I got you. I'm $1,000. You can't do it. And I threw it 72 yards. And so we would split the money. But we had that little fun little prankster thing we would do there.
That's awesome.
I mean, it's just oh man, I gotta save some for the book. No.
Yeah. No. Yeah. We'll talk about publishing rights later.
Yeah, right. No, it was so much fun. We pranked each other a lot. So we would call each other by our mother's names or grandmother's names. Like so Keith's mom was Annie Mae. so Annie Mae Burns. So we would that we'd make jokes Annie Mae Burns. So one day I just kind of got creative in the linebacker meeting and I wrote these animations and I was drawing these cartoons with Annie Mae and these little skinny legs and making all these tackles against these. And so Romo took it and he printed it out and put it all over the lockers and all that. So, it was just fun stuff like that,
There you go. You found one. I appreciate it, Glenn. That's pretty good. Animations. You still have a copy of your animation somewhere?
Oh, I wish we did, man. I wish we did. No. You don't think about it, but
you don't. You never do. You never do. Glenn, appreciate it, man. We're right at an hour as it is right now. you told me you would think about it. If there's anything that you want to talk about, what we can do, how we can follow you, how Broncos country can keep in touch with Glenn Cadrez if you want them to, what you got going on. And I'll have one last question I just got to ask you right before we get out of here as well.
Okay, well, I don't have anything to really promote.
Okay.
That's my Instagram. I go on that and follow friends, and I make videos of my kids. They're playing football and little highlights and stuff. But yeah, pretty simple guy. I'm doing a project back home where I'm developing some 27 acres into a little store and hotel and that kind of stuff. And Costco going guy, just kind of relaxing, drinking a little wine from time to time here in wine country, and just watching the kids grow. So that's I don't have anything to sell or promote, but I definitely appreciate you guys having me. It's always fun to talk about Bronco football and the past and present. I wish I could be more present in the present with the team, but you know what? Let's do it again at the end of the year, and I'll watch more of the team. I'll watch more of the players and have a little insight on it.
Man, we appreciate that. We love that invitation to come back and have you back on here, talk about anything. I don't care if it's just the past again, man. Everyone's been talking about in our comments, what great stories, and we all love to reminisce. Those were just such great times as Bronco fans, and you were such a huge part of that. I appreciate everything that you put on the field, from the little kid to the time that you were out there winning Super Bowls for us, because it takes that whole journey to get there, So appreciate the time that you spent with us today. The last question I have for you, what's up with watermelon harvest? Because
it's over now. It wasn't a very good year, to be honest, but yeah, my dad, he's been growing watermelons for years. He's been farmer for a lot of years, and I grew up doing that stuff and pitching them all day in the 115-degree heat. But it's there. I'm going to Costco to buy a few right now. As a matter of fact, it's just a family business, and my favorite fruit. So yeah, it's just,
your kids are loving it out there too. If you follow on my Instagram, watermelon sugar high has been stuck in my head since I watched the reel this morning. So Glenn Cadrez out there chopping up some watermelons, and
that's right.
Out of the field, man. So that's good stuff. It looks like you've been doing it for quite a few years. I just wanted to get that up.
Yeah. No, appreciate it. That was fun. Yeah, I forgot about that video. That's what I'm about. Matter of fact, I'm going tomorrow. My son has he starred in a movie. He has his red carpet opening tomorrow in LA. It's a horror film that his mom produced and all that. So he kind of knew somebody that got it, but
always helps.
Yeah. He's a great kid, and he's super talented. So doing that, but things are good, man. Let's go Broncos. Hopefully we get in that playoffs, and hopefully we start to really come together in that locker room, and good things will happen.
Awesome. Glenn, again, thank you so much. Enjoy your wine. Try to stay cool in that 100+ degree heat. And we look forward to talking to you again and having you on the show again.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
All right. Take care.
All right.
Take care. Thank you.
Well, gentlemen, how about that? Glenn Cadrez, that was amazing. Could have spoke to him all night long, man. What a great guy. I don't know, Dutchie, what are your takeaways real quick before we get out of here? And then we'll say some goodbyes. What were your takeaways from Glenn Cadrez, man?
I wish I would have seen those football games with him playing in it at that time, at that period, because I think it would have been wonderful to see. Right now we see a lot of repeats or replays, and I don't think it is as intense as it was then. So I think I'm kind of sad that I missed that period, but I love hearing those stories.
Yeah, fantastic. Trevor, before we get out of here, what were your thoughts?
No, I mean, I just love the interview. Just love him as a player, but love him even more as a person. Just up front, class act. Mr. Glenn Cadrez. Can't thank him enough for taking a chance on us as a podcast growing, and there's nothing but love from Broncos country, and you can tell in the posse nothing but love for Mr. Glenn Cadrez. And I'm glad he spoke on the youth. I think it's very something that's important to me as well. Trying to teach these kids, trying to teach these kids the right techniques for football so they can be better and be more successful. And I thought that was a great question to ask to a two-time Hall of Famer that has done it at the highest level. So I really appreciate that as well, and appreciate his time just in general. Again, class act, and can't wait to have him back on here soon.
Yeah. Like I said, so appreciative. We take a chance. It's a hope. It's a prayer. And it seems like it's answered when guys like Glenn Cadrez, a two-time Super Bowl winner, comes on here, tells you great stories about those fantastic teams, tells you what it was like playing in the league, tells you what it takes to get there. Man, it's so much. And then for him to, now that that's all done, he's all retired, resting at home, trying to have a glass of wine down in wine country, he's willing to come on here and spend a full hour with us as well. Thank you so much, Glenn. We appreciate it. And man, I just can't wait. Maybe if we're lucky, we can hit one of those 30 contacts, and he can set us up with the next interview. Who knows? So Albert, let's go ahead and get our goodbyes in, get out of here, and let everyone get off to the beginning of football season.
Yeah, guys, it was really, really fun to be on this show. Even although we could not have all your questions get in there because we wanted to give Glenn all the time it was. But thank you for being here and listening to it and giving up those comments. I want to thank Michael, Ernie, and Deborah was watching, Kurt, Michelle, Big E, Bronco, Pearl, Patrick, Graham, Jody, Kenny, D-Rock, Phil. Thank you for all being here, guys, and we're looking forward to the new season, and we will see you again soon, very soon.
Yeah, very soon. These shows have been rapid fire as of lately. Trevor, let's say good night or good evening to everybody, I guess, as we get out of here, though.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody for the support as always, and I hope that everybody truly, love to hear feedback from everybody as well. Hopefully, everybody's enjoying these. I'm sure that everybody is. The Super Bowl champion, interviews, and just former players from our Denver Broncos in general, to getting to interview them for 10, 15, minutes or even an hour. It doesn't matter, just really appreciate their time and getting our questions in and trying to get as many questions as you guys, have for them as well. So, I hope everybody appreciates the interview and really loves it. And kudos again. Big thank you to Keith for getting that interviews all set up as well. Couldn't have done it without you, Keith. And we're very blessed to have you and blessed to have Glenn part of our show, as well as Howard Griffith as well. So I just want to thank everybody in the posse for being supportive as always. We'll be back again tomorrow and talking current football. But ready to get the season going, and just big thank you to everybody, and hope everybody has a great rest of their day.
Yeah, I appreciate everyone in the posse. It was really, really difficult keeping up on stars, but Albert has let me know in the side chat. Thank you, Michael Ronquillo, for dropping stars as well. But man, I'm telling you, posse, it's why we do it. And I'm just so happy that we were able to do things like this for you as well. It was amazing for me. Hopefully it was amazing for you. Don't forget, we go live every Tuesday, every Friday, 7:15, 7:30. Just watch and hit those notification buttons so you know exactly what time we're going on. But every Tuesday, every Friday, 7:15 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, right here on the Denver Bronco Roundup. We're brought to you by the amazing Morgan Trinkets. We didn't mention them earlier, right in the middle of the broadcast, but Morgan Trinkets is our amazing sponsor. If you're looking for Southwest Jewelry, Southwest Pottery, or Estate Gold wholesale prices, make sure you check out Morgan Trinkets over on Facebook today. We're going to go ahead and get out of here. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. It was immense. It was fantastic. We loved every single moment of it. And we can't wait to see you guys and gals all again soon. So remember, keep your feet in the stirrups, guns in your holsters, and always, like Glenn Cadrez, keep the Broncos in your hearts. All right, guys, we're out of here. Have a great night.